So as many of you know, last year, me and my friend Flossie tried to thru hike the Pacific Crest Trail. I really do think that we would have finished if it wasn't for fires.
Firefighters are trying to wrangle another monster wildfire tonight. Look at that. It's not far from the state border of Oregon.
So when all was said and done last year, I ended up missing 3 different sections of the Pacific Crest Trail. A 217-mile section of the trail from Dunsmuir, California up to Ashland, Oregon. A 60-mile section kind of in the middle of Oregon, just north of Crater Lake. And then, of course, the grand finale, aka up in Washington State, Stevens Pass, 188 miles north to the Canadian border, the end of the trail. I really have wanted to get back out there and finish it up. I patiently waited, and then at the beginning of August 2023, I flew out to California. My plan was to hit all 3 sections that I had missed and actually finally complete the entire Pacific Crest Trail. These sections are not close together. And when I landed in California, I did not have all of this figured out, or even most of it figured out, but I did have the first part figured out. I put a call out on Instagram and just asked if there was any chance that someone could drive me the 3 hours from the Sacramento airport all the way to this random road crossing. And I found someone. Thank you very much, Crystal. She drove me all the way up there. She dropped me off. And just like that, almost exactly a year later, I was back on the PCT, which was insane. This is the spot where I stood almost 1 year ago to the date. Flossie, myself, and Brandon broke our continuous footsteps because of a fire closure and skipped up ahead to Ashland. And I knew when I was standing at this spot a year ago that I would be back. I didn't know when exactly, but it's now. I guess I'm back on the PCT. How about that, dude? What? All right, it's the morning of my first full day back on the PCT. Slow and steady is gonna be the name of the game today. It's just a big old climb for many miles, and I know that I don't have my trail legs yet, and it's gonna take a while before they come in. I'm gonna really play it safe because I do not want to hurt myself. The nerves are starting to settle down. This is when it really hit me. I was back out here, I was doing it, but there was also a lot of nerves. Though I've done a lot of solo backpacking, pretty much all of it has been on the East Coast. I never spent a single night alone on my PCT hike last year because Flossie and Brandon were always there. But this year, it would obviously be different. I was completely by myself. And so I'm just thinking about all this stuff. It was a hell of a day, but it was beautiful. I almost was thankful that I didn't hike that section last year, because if I had, it would have been extremely smoky. And that section from I-5 up to Highway 3 is incredible. Honestly, one of the coolest sections of the whole PCT. I sat down that evening and everything hurt and all was well at the same time. Well, I'm in my tent. At some points I was super excited. At other points I was kind of nervous. I'm exhausted. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I just felt so grateful to be out there, and that gratitude continued for the rest of my first section on trail. With all the BS that happened last year with the fire closures, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And I hate to say it, but I didn't really view the PCT as this like positive thing. But being back out there those first couple days, it really just like gave me a new sense of appreciation for the PCT. There was no more pressure of like through hiking the entire thing, of making the miles. I had plenty of time at this point. you know, a lot of that pressure was gone, and I was able to just really be present in a way that I wasn't last year, and I wish I had been.
I'm gonna wash my balls, so maybe don't include that in the video.
And by the time I got to Etna, man, I was just feeling good. I was stoked to be out there, and there was no fires. I started to kind of reminisce about my experience last year a little bit more, because on this 40 miles, there was a couple burn zones. I went into Etna from Highway 3, and I spent most of that day chilling in town, and then I took a 0 the next day. I'm not in a rush like I was last year, and this is only my first couple days on trail, so I better be extra cautious and just give myself a 0, and also why the f not, right? It only took me 2 days to do that 40 miles, and it was a pretty good reminder of the fire situation out there, a little bit of a foreshadow of what was to come. And this is when things really started to go downhill. I was dealing with another heat wave.
Today has been a little rough because it is hot.
Heat wave. Welcome back, Kyle. The entire week was forecasted to be over 100 degrees. It's exposed, it's dry, there's no shade. That's just my luck, right? So morale was definitely on the decline, and there were some interesting things that happened on this section too. A lot of animal encounters, including a bear sighting on my very first day.
That is a bear down there, running way down the rocks. He's hauling ass. Pretty cool. It was really far away. You could probably barely see it on camera. Barely, haha. Just about the best possible scenario to see a bear. Not close, not camping here. I don't know, dude. I'm just lucky to be out here. I just saw a bear. How cool is that? So sick.
Another bear sighting the next day, 2 bears in a row. And then the next day, the day that I got into Syed Valley, I saw a rattlesnake.
He's got me in a bit of a tough spot here. Do I throw something at him? I bet you if I just made a run for it, I could make it.
That day that I got into Syed Valley was probably the most miserable. The entire day I was going downhill, which I'm glad I wasn't going uphill, but I was just going lower in elevation, lower in elevation, lower in elevation. And the lower in elevation you get, the hotter it's gonna be. So by the end of the day, I was down around 1,000 feet in elevation, which is very low for out there, and it was almost 110 degrees. I think it was 108 that day, brutally hot. And I got down to the bottom of the climb, and there's actually a campground there, and I was defeated.
Oh man, it's like 7 miles to town from here. And there's also a river here. I was just soaking in that river right before this. Had an interesting thing happen last night. There was deer there, and there was a lot. As soon as I rolled up to camp, they're just poking around, they're just doing their deer bullshit. And we were throwing rocks at them, we were yelling, we were like bluff charging them. These deer did not care, not one bit. And so after a while, we kind of just were like, all right, I guess we're just camping with the deer tonight. So we kind of just started to ignore them as they were just moseying around. There's probably like 5 or 6 of them. I hung my bear line. I just threw the line over and it was just dangling there. I'm eating dinner and all of a sudden I hear a commotion behind me. I turn around. These f***ing deer, dude, one of them must have gotten tangled up in the line as it was just hanging in the tree, and it just ran off. And the line went with it. So the line goes right out of the tree, deer runs off, bear line gone. I couldn't find it. That deer just ran off. Hopefully it died. They were waking me up last night, poking around in my campsite. One of them dragged my trekking pole away. Yeah, get out of here. Silly deer. This has been a low moment, sitting here in the heat. And I can't do it right now. It's just about 4 o'clock. But this guy pulls up in a side-by-side with his dog. He was just like, yo, like, my house is like 4 miles down the road if you want to ride.
It's 108 degrees according to him right now. I got too much pride. I don't want to take a ride. The road is the PCT, but he said that once it cools down a little bit, if I want to make my way down there, I could crash at his house. He said he's going to have some dinner. Like, what? That's some fucking trail magic. Oh, and he also gave me a cold, ice cold soda. I think he just does rounds up here every day to see if there's hikers chilling. And you hear people say a lot of the time, like, the trail provides, man. Like, I kind of shit on that phrase a little bit. Like, it's just kind of cheesy. But, like, I can't think of a better scenario than the trail providing. What a blessing. At your lowest moment, cold soda shows up. And then I road walked down to Brian's house. I rolled up to that place and dude, what a godsend. This man letting a bunch of stinky hikers crash in his house tonight. I really needed it today. He fed us, gonna take a shower. Unreal. This guy would not accept a penny in return. He wouldn't even let me do the dishes. We were all trying to pitch in or help him out in some way. He would not accept it. Just all out of the kindness of his heart. Little did I know that the kindness was going to extend much further than just housing us for a night and feeding us. I guess we should get into the next day then. I decided that I was going to zero at Brian's house the next day. I wanted to wait out one more day of the heat wave. And so I was like, this is an amazing place. Brian's an amazing guy. He was more than happy to have me stay for the day. And so I was like, I'm just going to stay here. At this point, I was 38 miles from finishing California, and I was looking forward to hitting it. We're talking about this in the morning. The previous night, there had been some lightning storms in the area, and there had been lightning storms all up the West Coast for that matter. And later that morning, I learned that there was a trail closure in Washington, right smack in the center of the Washington section that I needed to hike. That was a bummer. So I was like, you know what? I still have plenty of hiking to do down in California and Oregon. I got to finish that up first, and then I'll assess after that. Around 2 p.m., I saw a Facebook post from the mother of a PCT hiker. This mother said, hey, I'm talking to my son. He sees a fire near Syad Valley. And through that Facebook post, I learned that because of the lightning storms the previous night, a new fire had started. So that got the alarm bells going off a little bit. I learned that it was called the head fire. I asked Brian about it, and he was like, yep. He didn't really seem too concerned. He actually left while he was gone. It went from just to like oh, there's a random small fire that's just a couple acres to, oh shit, this fire is 1,000 acres.
That fire is called the head fire.
Head fires.
The head fire. It has a high rate of speed, moving fast,
Sending smoke and embers into the air.
But the firefight continues as we speak.
We just started smelling smoke about 20 minutes ago. Don't know what's gonna happen. I haven't even made it to f***ing Oregon yet.
Next came the evacuation warning.
We're under an evacuation warning.
Now, I've never been through this before. I was really starting to get nervous now.
There's supposed to be more storms in the forecast. I don't know, dude.
I told a couple of the other hikers about it. When I told them there was an evacuation warning, their attitudes changed real quick. One of them was from California, and so she had been through this before. But when I told her about it, she was like, we gotta pack our stuff then. We gotta be ready to go at any second. Brian comes home and he's like, yeah, this is not looking good. I could actually see the flames over where I was. At this point, it's only an evacuation warning. It's not mandatory. They're just saying, hey, this fire is spreading pretty rapidly. You might want to be ready to get out at any second. And about 30 to 40 minutes after we got the warning, that warning changed into an order.
mandatory evacuations,
Prompting evacuation.
Forcing evacuations.
There's so much going through my head at this point. It was spreading so fast.
It has burned from 1,000 to 1,500 acres.
Burned nearly 3,000 acres.
4,000 acres.
Acres just over the course of a couple hours. It was extremely windy. Brian's packing up stuff, moving quick to go grab important documents, other things, and he's also dealing with us, 4 or 5 hikers at his house.
We are evacuating. We're packing up.
He's going out of his way to help us. He was literally cooking us dinner while all of this was happening. Incredible. So grateful for this guy, dude. And so we evacuated. Brian drove us 30 minutes down the road to a town called Happy Camp. They opened up an emergency shelter for us that night. It was just in like a basketball little gym thing. It was away from the fire. Everything was good, but just a sketchy situation. So we woke up the next morning. The fire was still raging and it wasn't contained at all. I didn't have anywhere to go. And so Brian drove us back to his house. I felt like that was the best thing to do. We would have his vehicle if we needed to evacuate. We got back to his house and PCTA officially closed the trail from Etna Summit all the way up to the Oregon border. And so there I am trying to decide what the hell to do. Do you know how much it sucked to be only 38 miles away from finishing California on the second year that I was out there? And trail's closed again. 38 miles left. A day and a half. I'd spent all this money getting back out there for the second time, and the same goddamn thing happened. So now I got to decide what to do. The trail's closed. The fire situation is still pretty sketchy, and there's more bad weather, lightning storms predicted for the next couple days. I'm not hiking out. The air quality is getting really bad. I got to figure out a way to get out of here. And Brian, I'm sure would have helped, but he had done so much at this point that I really wanted to try to figure out something else, some other way to get out. We're trying to get to Ashland. Second year in a row, I'm trying to get to Ashland. We hear rumors that the county that we're in is going to send a bus just to pick up us hikers in Sayad Valley and bring us up to Ashland. Brian's on the phone with the sheriff. The bus is coming. Oh, never mind. Oh, the sheriff showed up, but there was nobody there, so now they're not. Okay, the county has a bus. They're ready to send it, but they don't have a driver yet. Back and forth for a couple hours. So eventually we get word that there is, in fact, a bus coming for us.
Thank you.
And we need to go down to the Sayad Valley store and wait for it there. So Brian drives us down to the store, he drops us off, and we're waiting at the store.
This is not good. We've just been hanging out at the store for like the past couple hours. There's people coming in, locals, people that are looking pretty stressed out and maybe even a little bit panicked. Not really sure what to do. It's smoky and it's thundering too, and so there's a good chance of more fires popping up, and the wind's picking up too.
One guy that works at the store, this is a tiny town, there's one store in the entire town. His name's Rick. He's amazing. Just like Brian, he went out of his way to help us so much. He kept the store open late just for us, calling the sheriff, trying to coordinate this bus just for us. The entire time that we're waiting at this store, residents are coming into the store watching these people in a very, very dangerous, intense situation. People are coming in just exhausted. They hadn't slept the previous night because they're up all night trying to figure out what they're supposed to do because of the fire. People are coming in with their kids. They're buying last minute supplies. A lot of them were not happy with just the way that everything was being managed by the sheriff's office and the Forest Service. And one guy in particular, let's just say that he had stumbled across someone who had been burned to death the previous night. And this is all just unfolding right in front of me, all these like raw conversations. At one point, Rick gets a call. I don't know who it was from. I think it was from a family member, a wife. And they said, hey, I see a new fire. Like, what do I do right now? Like a new fire just started from all the lightning. And it is just, dude, 2 hours of this, just like people were just on edge. I was on edge. And then finally the bus shows up and we drive right through the area where the fire is. The road's closed through there, but since the county is picking us up, their government, they have permission to go through there, so they drove us right through.
Okay, thank you.
Smoke, flames, and eventually we got to Ashland. What a whirlwind that was. When I got to Ashland, I got picked up by another person from Instagram, a subscriber, a fan of the channel. His name's Corey, and he lives in Medford, one town over. And I still didn't even know what I was gonna do for the rest of my hike either. Corey suggested that we go to trail days that weekend. But I was like, you know what? I wasn't planning on going to trail days, but now that I'm here, fuck it, let's go to trail days. What an incredible week. It was the polar opposite of all the craziness. Festive, joyful, I met so many freaking people that watch the channel, so thank you so much if you came up and said hi or wanted a picture, or if you're that dude that wanted me to sign your zip chip, that's super cool. I talked to so many awesome gear companies, Sawyer, Z-Packs, ULA, all people that I kind of had gotten to know through various work for my channel or the podcast. I talked to Tayson from Outdoor Vitals a ton. You know that guy that's always in those annoying commercials on YouTube?
Hey, I'm Tayson with Outdoor Vitals, and I wanted to take a quick minute to talk.
I've never even used their gear, honestly, but he was just like super chill. I chilled with Tayson a bunch, actually. I hope I get to see him again, and I'd love to try some of their gear too at some point. And then there was other YouTubers there, dude. First of all, Dan Becker was there. How incredible is that? Dan and I got to meet in person for the second time, a little bit longer than the first time. Miranda Goes Outside was there. Absolutely incredible to finally meet her for the first time. Got to hang out with her a bunch. Darwin on the Trail was there. I got to meet him for the first time, and he was so cool. You know, Darwin's kind of a big deal. He's a lot bigger of a deal than I am. Darwin was amazing, dude. I hung out with Darwin a bunch. I saw his film. It was just an amazing weekend. I probably should have ended on a high note, but I didn't. There's a little bit more to this story. Trail days ends, I'm a little bit hungover. I knew I wasn't going to be able to complete the trail at this point. I had pretty much given up on even going to Washington. Why go up there if I have miles left in California? I'd given up on that, but I was like, you know what? I still have this 60-mile section in Oregon. I might as well just finish that up. That'll be one less thing to worry about when I come back again. There was a lot of fires around it, but that section was open, and the plan was Corey's going to drop me off at the north end of this section, and I'm going to hike 60 miles south to Highway 138, where Corey's going to pick me up in about 2 or 3 days. Spending the weekend with Corey and a lot of time in the car with him was so awesome. This man has a hell of a story. He's gone through a lot of hardship in his life. Corey was living in Paradise, California in 2018 when the camp fire broke out and burned the entire town.
Everything's burned. Oh my God, I mean, everything.
Just insane. Despite all of that, he has an amazing attitude. He's so fun. And it was just really cool being able to spend a lot of time with him and just like learning about his life experience. There's so many people went out of their way to help me on this. And Corey was one of those people, dude. Like, would barely accept gas money, like just incredible. I'm so grateful. We're getting close to the trailhead and it's smoky. There's so many fires around us at this point that the air quality is awful. And so I almost didn't hike out. I was that close to not hiking out. We got to the trailhead and I was like, fuck, I just gotta go. And so I did. I hiked out and...
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, have fun, bro.
Well,
Be safe. I'll see you Wednesday morning.
For most of that first day, I kind of regretted it. I'm not gonna lie.
Pretty anxious hiking out today. I didn't sleep much the last couple nights.
Sincerely regretted hiking out because it was just so smoky.
And it's supposed to be getting clearer the further south I go. Hopefully even by the end of today I'll be out of it. There are fires close by. We'll see. A couple more days of hiking. I gotta get my head back in this.
At this point, I wasn't gonna finish the trail anyway, so why am I putting up with this? That's kind of how I felt. And that's kind of how I felt for the rest of that section.
The smoke was really bumming me out yesterday. I didn't like it, man. But I made a decision, and by the time I started to regret that decision, I was already balls deep in this section, so.
I didn't have any fun on this section. The trail was very quiet. I did not see many other people, which was just eerie. You just look around and it's smoky. You know you're not really supposed to be in this environment.
The mosquitoes are insane. I'm already running low on DEET. I'm probably gonna be out by the time I finish tomorrow afternoon. But that's just the way it goes. This is also my second to last day on the PCT this year, so I just gotta get through it.
A lot of just put your head down, shut the fuck up, and hike as hard as you can, as far as you can. All right, so this is it. Last year, we came out of that trail entrance right there.
Well, I just connected those spots, so my PCT hike this year is done. Ooh, I didn't get to finish all the miles I wanted to, but it was still an incredible experience. I think it's time for a burger. Let's see if I can get a ride.
I was actually able to catch a hitch all the way back to Medford, so Corey didn't even have to pick me up at the end. And then I flew home. Second year in a row, still didn't complete the PCT. Here are the stats. This year, I ended up completing 217.7, which means I have 248.6 left to go. As of the time of this recording, Syed Valley is no longer under an evacuation order, just as of like, I think a day or two ago. The PCT is technically open from Syed Valley to the Oregon border, although they're still like advising you not to hike it, but technically it's open. Obviously, it's incredibly frustrating. However, it's not as bad as I thought it might be. And there's two reasons why I'm actually like pretty okay with how things happened. The first reason is because I was out there for about 2 weeks. It was an amazing 2 weeks. I met so many amazing people, like all the people that helped me that I talked about in this video, just out of the kindness of their heart, very touching experiences. I met so many cool hikers, so many people that recognized me and were inspired from my videos and helped from my videos. I ended up getting to go to trail days and make all the connections there, and then just all the fun there, which I wasn't planning on doing originally. I was planning on just hiking. And so because of all that, it was still an incredible experience, despite the fact that I didn't even come close to finishing the trail like I intended to when I went out there. And the second reason why, and probably the more important reason why, is because seeing what all the people in Syed Valley, the residents, were going through, and the people of Hamburg too, just how awful it was for them. And also knowing that this is pretty much a yearly occurrence at this point for them up there. Just seeing that and their struggles really put into perspective how much it doesn't really matter that I didn't finish this trail. It's like, yeah, it sucks. Obviously, I'm frustrated that I didn't make it even out of California, let alone finish the rest of the trail. That sucks. But at least my house didn't burn down. Or at least I wasn't at risk of losing my house like all these people were and still are. At least I wasn't finding my neighbor burned to death and trying to rescue them and being too late. At least I wasn't looking outside my store at a new fire that had just started. You hear about these things on the news, you read about them in articles or see them in videos like this, but actually being there in the middle of it all really just gave me a new perspective, and it's hard for me to be upset about not finishing my stupid hike when these people are just going through hell. I don't know. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about fires this year, and it was an incredible experience. I'm never going to forget these past couple weeks, and so I'll try to come back next year to finish the PCT, or as much of it as I can, and if not, then I'll come back the next year. I'll get it eventually. Yep, that's the story.